It is going.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies, we have the one and only Kevin Briggins on the family meeting today because I have questions and it was my turn to produce the show.
So here I am.
So here he is.
Hopefully I have some answers.
Yes, hopefully. Kevin likes the music. See? That's good. All right, we got a lot of people watching. This is good. Doing a little bit earlier today. So we'll see if people hop on. All right, so
search the scripture, drink coffee. That's my person. We are one and the same. I appreciate that.
Okay, so what we're talking about today is all the chatter on X of the crumbling of the American dream for Gen Z. And we're going to talk about a number of issues that I've teed up here for Kevin to talk through with us. And so hop in the chat and let us know your thoughts, especially if you have kids in Gen Z that are talking to you about their disillusionment. We want to help you be able to have better conversations.
Heck, let's talk about the disillusionment of millennials, zennials, and Gen X. When I turn on the social media tubes and see these, never mind, you know what? Let me stop. Some of these people is very disillusioning. Like, is this what we leave in our nation to?
Oh my god. Yeah. We gotta fix what the boomers messed up.
Oh, that's a big narrative right now.
Yeah.
What we're facing right now is because of the boomers, and there's a lot of scapegoating on the boomers, the boomer generation, that they're the ones that have put us in these perilous situations. And it's actually not the young people that are the problem. It's the old people that are the problem.
Or you could take responsibility for yourself, build your own generational wealth, and stop electing a socialist. I mean, it's in the entire blame conversation. We see it all the time. Also, everybody has to blame somebody, but it takes us all the way back to Genesis 3, where, but it was this woman you gave me, God. And so now Adam is not only blaming Eve, but he's also blaming God, because in essence, if you didn't give me this woman, we wouldn't be in this predicament. Everybody always got to blame somebody. Take some responsibility for yourself.
Politics is grievance. It's just driven by grievance. And you find someone to make the enemy, point the blame on, and then you convince everyone, hey, your problems are because of them over there. You know? So that's what we're doing.
All right, so let's start off. I want to kick things off here with a tweet from Charlie Kirk from a while back, which I think is kind of reflection. It's a good reflection on what I'm seeing on X from the younger generation, my kids' generation. This tweet is dated August 14th of this year. So it's really not that old of a tweet, but let me get it. Let me make it a little bit. Let me make it a little bigger. Here we go. So it says the social compact. This is the social compact breaking down. We need urgently to restore it. And so then he lists here kind of his list of priorities: mass deportations, stop the H-1B scam, dramatically reduce legal immigration, end chain migration and the visa lottery, build 10 million homes for Americans, and crush the college cartel. But this is the main thing I want to look at, is this graph that's been circulating all over X recently of estimated percentage of 30-year-olds who are both married and homeowners, comparing 1950 all the way to 2025. And you can see like 50% over 50% in 1960 were 30-year-olds both married and homeowners, and now it's like 10%. It's a very low number. You just see the cratering in the 90s and early 2000s. I mean, the idea of home ownership which is really kind of the cornerstone of the American dream, just sort of cratering. I think a lot of people are struggling with that. But then a week or 2 weeks ago, there was this meme floating around of Donald Trump. This is a screen cap from his Truth Social account. 30-year mortgage was introduced by FDR, and then he wanted to introduce 50-year mortgages to get the house payments down as a potential way to solve the home ownership problem. And that idea just absolutely cratered. Like, people were not in favor of that. They thought it was a horrible idea. I sent it to you, Kevin. I sent it to Jeff Degner, our economist here at the ministry. And so we could talk about that. But here's another here's another tweet, just kind of teeing up the conversation here of the narrative used to be work hard, pay off your mortgage, own your house. Now it's 8% interest rates, 50-year loans, private equity, buying everything with cash. ZERP, I don't know what that means. ZERP, zombies, refinancing forever. You'll never own. You'll rent from BlackRock or the bank. You'll make payments till you die, and you'll be happy. Home ownership is the new subscription service. Welcome to feudalism 2.0. And this sort of nihilistic, negative narrative is just all over X with the younger generations. People might not be aware of how private equity firms are buying up homes. There's a lot of concern on X about this, that they're buying up residential properties. Is a big increase, up 27% from the first quarter, the highest percentage in the last 5 years. So you could see this buying a home in 1985 versus 2025. The prices are back, for the baby boomer generation. My generation isn't on this chart of Gen X, but it's roughly like 3 times your pay was what you purchased a home for. Now it's 74,000 median income for millennials, but the average home is 468,000. And just saying, this is unsustainable. This is unattainable. Home ownership is just out of reach. Now, I know you have some background, Kevin, in real estate and doing that sort of thing. Mandami's solution in New York is we're just going to socialize apartments and do rent controls and all of this. I don't think that's really going to solve the problem.
It's not.
Yeah, get us started. What are your thoughts about this sort of attitude that we are seeing unfold on social media?
I think it's twofold in terms of the marriage and home ownership. First of all, people just aren't getting married before 30.
That's what I was going to say too.
So that's one of the big reasons you're seeing this big drop off is, people getting married later. And the other thing is, and I like what Charlie was getting at with his solutions, because he's basically trying to address both sides of supply and demand. There's a high demand because a lot of people here, including, you let in all these immigrants, whether it's legal or illegal. And then, you have, young millennials, Gen Z, all these people coming to home buyer age. And then there's a low supply. So you had the 2008 housing crash, and builders stopped building at the pace because of the crash, and they never really picked the pace back up. And so we don't have as many houses as we need. And so you have low supply and high demand. Another thing that is killing the supply is interest rates, because most people have an interest rate below 4%. And so why would I sell my house and move when I'm holding a 3% interest rate when interest rates are currently above 6%? And so there's just a lack of people selling. And so that's limiting the supply that's on the market, which keep prices high because supply and demand. But the flip side of that is If you lower interest rates, you increase demand, which raises prices. And so it's still kind of unattainable because the prices are going to go up because demand goes up. And so it's just one of those things of um, it's a complicated thing. I'll say this too. We tend to make New York and California issues national issues. And what I mean by that is most places in the country prices are higher than people want them to be. But in terms of just unaffordability, we're really looking at California, New York, and DC, like places like that. That is where the prices are ridiculous. The average home price, I looked it up today. Washington, D.C. has the highest average home price. The average home price in Washington, D.C. is $1.3 million. That's just crazy, you know? But on the other hand, I said, okay, let me look at Nashville. Nashville, Tennessee. It's a booming city. It's a major city. People are flooding there. I was like, let me look at starter home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. That's your classic starter home. And I just said my max budget is $350,000. There were lots of options between $250,000, $350,000. So in a place like, Nashville, you can own a home, right? You can get a starter home. It's not going to be in your trendy area with your favorite coffee shop, but there are plenty of homes out there to buy, especially in the outer suburban type areas. And so this idea of unaffordability is a lot of times it's a regional and local problem. But at the same time, it's still a major problem because it's just the way people are feeling and especially the way the media is spinning it as well. I mean, New York and California drive our news cycle. And so a lot of those people do feel that way. New Yorkers feel that way. I think the average home price, it wasn't even the home price. The average rent in Manhattan is $5,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's just nuts. That's just crazy.
It's like a tiny room. It's not really an apartment.
Average rent, $5,000 a month. Right. And so, yeah, they have a problem. They have a supply problem in New York. And this is what people don't talk about because we think we can solve all our problems with some kind of federal thing. Real estate is local. Right.
Well, that was going to be my question is what can the president really do about this problem? Like what is within his power, in your opinion, to help solve this problem?
I mean, the president doesn't control the Fed, so he can't really control the interest rates. He's tried to put pressure on the Fed to lower the rates, but the Fed is going to do what the Fed's going to do because the Fed is concerned about inflation. And so, like I said, yes, it will definitely draw up, you lower the interest rates, people are going to be happy. But they're going to be happy, which increases the demand. There are more buyers now for these houses again, which makes the prices go up, right? And so, because there's still no more supply.
But couldn't we pass a law of like not allowing corporations to buy single-family homes?
That would help, but the corporations are the only one. They're not the only ones. The reason there's such a higher part of who's buying right now is because other buyers are just sitting out. So if you let's say, okay, corporations, you can't buy any more houses. I don't know what that does to the housing market for real. Maybe it just makes prices come down. Maybe that's the quote unquote crash that everybody's waiting on. Because who's buying? If they're not buying that, what I forgot what the percentage was in the first quarter they bought of homes. But if they're not buying those homes, who's buying those homes? Because it's not like, oh, BlackRock bought the house I wanted, so I'm not buying a house. No, somebody else still bought a house who was in the market for a house,
But isn't that driving up prices? Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like they price people out. So now, like in my brother's area, because there's corporations that own all the homes. Yes, there are still individuals, like my brother owns his home, but there are huge areas where it is called built to rent instead of built to own. Like let me build my home and then I'll own it. You can only build to rent.
Yes.
And that to me seems like Yeah, it seems
But
very off. I want to say unfair, but I'm not necessarily sure unfair is the best
it's
term.
not unfair. And so
But it prices out the regular person, and then the regular American is now under the corporation.
yeah. So first of all, I'll say this: those corporations are buying in specific areas. That's not across the country, right? But at the same time, in the areas where they are buying, yeah, they do price people out because they're coming in like all cash offer. You know, they can pay over asking, things like that. In terms of the build to rent, like I said, real estate is local. So if they built a community to rent, that means the local municipality had to approve that. You know, that's what I mean by real estate is local. The local city council could have said, no, we don't want more rentals. We will allow you to build, but we want home ownership. You need to build a sale, right? So they got approval to do those build to
So
rent
that's
communities.
not a federal problem.
That's not a federal problem. That's what I'm saying. Like real estate is local. And that's where people get upset or don't understand, because I've talked about it before, the whole not in my backyard syndrome. Like they need more houses in California. And everybody in California will say they need to build more houses. But then when they come to, you know, put a permit in to build and people find out about it, they go down there and they protest it because they don't want it in their backyard, you know? And so where are they going to build? Because they not just single family homes, they just need more housing in general, multi-family housing. I don't care if it's townhomes or apartment complexes or, you know, condos. They need more housing.
So they need support. That's another solution, is we need more supply.
Yes. Supply big time.
But so lower interest rates, but that's not alone going to fix the problem. We need higher supply.
Yes.
Maybe, but we also have to confront that local municipalities are allowing all these rentals to be purchased, because generational wealth is built through property ownership, home ownership. And if that's out of reach and people are just perpetually renting, they're not able to build wealth. And so, but it does seem like, it makes me wonder, what is the incentive for all these municipalities to only approve apartment buildings?
Because they probably get some kind of kickback.
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm asking Kevin.
Yeah, and you gotta understand the people who already own homes, the boomers.
We're back to the boomers again.
I'm just joking about the boomers, but typically people who already own homes, especially in California, they want to protect their home value, right? They want their home values to stay really high. They want it to stay really expensive. And so they don't want things that's going to drive down their home value or drive down prices. They just don't. So they're protecting their own interest. And so, yeah, nobody wants more houses. And this thing, California too, they really don't need more single family homes because they need so much more housing. They need to take advantage of the space they have to build multifamily housing.
And multifamily housing is apartments,
condos, townhomes, right?
Okay.
You need to fit more, because if you're just doing a neighborhood with just single family homes, you're not going to build enough. It's just not going to be enough housing for everyone fast enough. I should say that too. And it's not just, I say, when people think apartments, they think of renting, or you do condos or townhomes, that's still ownership, right? So it doesn't have to be rental. They just need more housing, period. Especially a place like New York. No, New York is all apartments. These apartment buildings, because it's an island, right? So they have to build up. They need more of that. But when you're talking about city regulations, it's a headache. It is a headache going through a municipality to try to build something, especially a place like New York. You know, I'm pretty sure local New Yorkers will tell you, trying to build something, get the permits. I mean, that mob mentality still exists.
So people that live in those kind of areas have to be open to the possibility of relocating to other areas where there's more supply. And so New York, this part of the solution to the New York housing problem is they need people to move out of New York City.
Yes. And that's what Ben Shapiro said and got in trouble for. He was like, look, you don't have a right to live where you grew up. If you can't afford to live there, you got to go where you can afford. Like, that's just the American way, is you move somewhere that's more viable for you. And of course, people got upset with that, but he's not wrong. That's why I made the Nashville reference. Like, there are places around this country where you can still afford a home.
Arkansas,
Arkansas, Alabama, West Virginia has the lowest average home price. I think it's $263,000. The average home price in West Virginia. Now, of course, you need jobs, you need this type of. You just can't move. But most people just are not willing to leave place. They love New York. They love California. They love LA. They don't want to move, but man, I mean, I look at it, I'm like, I can't afford to live there. And so, but from a president standpoint, it's not a whole lot. I mean, they can do some kind of federal program to incentivize building and things like that, kickbacks, tax cuts. But at the end of the day, it's the local municipality that has to determine that.
So is part of this the way we vote? If it's a local municipality thing?
Absolutely.
So then that comes back to my question of like, why are you blaming others? This is what we continually vote for.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're right. And especially in these inner cities, because let's be real, we're talking about blue inner cities with high, home prices. And that's where some of the hypocrisy comes in too, because the liberals will love to talk about home affordability and all this type of stuff. But when it comes down to it, they're the ones who constantly block the new construction building and stuff. It's rich. It's rich liberals.
Climate issues is what they
say. Climate, environmental.
Until we do an environmental impact study, and we can't build new houses. That was the big thing around in our area.
Yep.
Maybe like 6 to 10 years ago, my husband and I saw no new construction for years in our area, that they weren't building anything. And it was because of all of the environmental laws that we have. So that's another complication that's and causing
those are local and state, right?
Okay.
It's like, oh no, we can't build here because the rare California tree squirrel will be endangered. If we, they will come up with things like, the rare, Los Alamos snail will be lost if we build houses here. Like, they will find all types of environmental reasons to deny new construction. But a lot of times it's simply just protecting their own home values and investments.
Which I did a conversation with Dr. Cal Beisner from the Cornwall Alliance, where he was like, this just even parts of that conversation leads us toward a global socialism. And it's not necessarily because there's all of these things that we have to fear. Yeah, we want to make sure that we are being good stewards of, the earth and our resources and things like that. But all of this stuff about like, oh my gosh, that 3-legged cockroach that we only have in California is going to go extinct if you build 2 houses, like.
Yeah,
that's
even if I remember correctly, when they had the LA wildfires, some of the preventative things I heard weren't done because of environmental concerns.
Yes, that's correct.
That whole environmental stuff plays a big role. It's ideological.
But it's largely a supply and demand issue. Like, people have all of these comments going of like, well, there's this and there's this and there's this, but all of the things are really supply.
And so that's what Charlie was addressing in his things. It was get rid of immigrants. So think about how many legal and illegal immigrants are in this country being housed, right?
Well, along those lines, let's watch this quick clip from Isabelle Brown, because I want to get a voice on here from Gen Z itself. And Isabelle Brown is a young Roman Catholic influencer who's growing in popularity, and I think she represents kind of the Gen Z conservative perspective that Charlie represented, of like, hey, we have problems here and we feel like nobody's listening to us. So let me play this quick clip from Isabelle Brown.
Hear me out. Maybe instead of a 50-year mortgage, we make it illegal for BlackRock subsidiary corporations to just buy up all of the single-family homes in this country, which some estimates are suggesting now that they will own 60% of single-family homes by 2030. That's lovely. Maybe we ban illegal immigrants from living in Section 8 or affordable housing. Or, I don't know, just outright we ban property taxes. That's where my head's at. And yesterday, I decided to solicit your feedback on Instagram and X as well. I asked you guys in an Instagram poll on my story on the 50-year mortgage plan. Do you think it's great or are you not a fan at all? 94% of you say the 50-year mortgage sucks. And then on Instagram, I solicited, instead of the 50-year mortgage, I want this instead. Listen to these answers because this tells me where the base is at. And you just have to ask people where they are. April, lower interest rates. To be fair, Trump really is trying to do that. It's the Fed that won't do it. We've got MZ Lewis, illegals out, tax advantage savings accounts for buying a home, IDK. Colin, I'm very uninformed on this, but I think we should penalize companies, big corporations that are buying large swaths of land. Interesting. Good Bull Outdoors, ban groups like BlackRock from investing in housing. TL Mace, lower interest rates for first-time buyers. Swade the Ripper, end income taxes and end property taxes. Jess, no income tax, no property tax. WB Raider, more tax credits. Seems to me like a trend is happening here. What a fascinating idea. More than abolishing income and property taxes, though, there was one answer that was more common than any other answer. And this is where young American voters and people are at. From S. Bella 83, deporting illegals. Deport illegals and revoke housing vouchers. Jim F. remove several millions of people that are here illegally and their housing subsidies, period, full stop.
Yeah.
And I think it's a tough answer. I mean, you know, the optics on removing illegals is rough at times, but it is part of the variables in the housing supply problem.
Yeah. And not to jump ahead, but to get into kind of bleed into your next topic, it is the idea of prioritizing Americans over illegal immigrants.
But I think that, oh gosh, I have so many thoughts. Yes, I think illegal immigrants are one thing. I think we have a generation, especially this Gen Z generation, that has had a lot of things given to them. They have had it very easy. And so now the idea of what does it look like to really work hard? What does it really look like to save? What does it look like to be in competition for this house? That is a bit of a foreign idea to this generation, if we are just honest. There's a lot of helicopter parenting. And when you go into buying your home, helicopter parenting don't work unless we want to talk about the legacy income that you really haven't necessarily wanted to step into, Gen Z, because you wanted socialism. You have wanted things to be easy. And so I don't necessarily know we need to look at the boomer generation, but I can say, okay, well, as who parented the Gen Zs? Is that millennials, Gen X's?
It's
like,
Gen X.
like
It's my
there are, we need to look at why are we in this situation that we're in? Why do Gen Z people think that it's okay to vote for socialists? Why is the idea of this continual kind of leftist vote that continues to bring in these leftist policies that do not put America first, that do not truly incentivize like lower taxes and things that are beneficial for Americans? You know, like it's like you can complain on one hand, but on the other hand, you're doing a lot of the things that are going to continue to keep you in the place that you're in. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, once again, the boomers though. The boomers, when we say boomers, we're talking. So when you talk about the people who are out there protesting, a lot of these protests, you look at them, it's like, man, it's just a bunch of old gray-haired people out there, white gray-haired people out there protesting. Yeah, it's the hippie generation. The hippie generation became professors. They took over education. They took over. So you say, why is Gen X that way? Because the boomers raised them.
Gen Z.
Gen Z.
I mean, Gen Z. Yeah. But Gen X raised Gen Z, but who raised Gen X, right? When we were in the 80s and 90s, when you got all of these new parenting books coming out, who was writing those parenting books?
It's the hippies.
It was the hippies. It was the boomers. You know, the whole gentle parenting, all this stuff came from the boomer generation. They transformed the way American culture operates. And so from a social standpoint, I'm joking halfway, but a lot of that generation, I would say my buddy Chad Jackson would call it the rebellious generation, the generation that rebelled against their parents' ways because they knew better, right? The liberation, and so they had their new ways of doing things. You know, we don't do corporal punishment anymore. That's
we do in my house. Don't play no games.
I'm just saying, like that mindset. Oh, that's oppressive. That's from slavery. That's from this. That stuff came out of the boomers, right? It was like, no, you want to affirm your kid. Everyone gets a trophy. Everyone gets to be involved.
When you pay a bill.
we got to tear down those oppressive hierarchies in the house. See, got to liberate the children. But back to the real estate thing. And you're right. There is a sense of wanting things to be easy, but at the same time, there is a problem. There is an affordability problem.
Yeah. And Gen X or Gen Z would say, I see these posts all the time, is they want people in my generation and up to stop telling them that they're not working hard enough. They want people to stop telling them that they're not, that they're just being spoiled. They're like, hey, I'm working 2 jobs. I'm working a side hustle. I'm never going to get out of this.
But also be honest too. Most of them are trying to do it alone. They aren't married. They're trying to be single, work at Starbucks, and get the American dream. And it's like, that's not going to happen. Right? Boo up. They got to boo up. You got to get married.
You got to get married. Don't just boo up and buy a house. Because at the end of the day, you're going to end up on the people's court. No, go ahead and get married.
Well, there's a sentiment in the chat of like, they watch HGTV and they watch these young couples buy really extravagant homes right out of the gate. And so they have a mindset of like, that's what I should do. Whereas in my generation, when we were looking for a home in our 20s, like the idea was, well, let's just get a starter house. Let's start small. And then maybe we'll sell that one after 5 years and get another one. And like the expectation is one of bigger home, luxury home, all of these bells and whistles.
Yeah, because the first pair of shoes they ever got was a pair of Jordans, and they didn't gone up from there. It's like,
I'll tell you, Gen Z, they resent those kinds of characterizations that you're making, and it really creates a wedge between the generations.
But I'm just gonna tell them again, like, you gotta move. You can't. I know you love LA. You can't live in LA. Now, if you want to be a homeowner in your 20s, like,
you're gonna have to think about Arkansas.
Yeah. Iowa. It's places where you can buy a home. You can live the American dream. You can, and that's what I chose Nashville for a reason, because Nashville is a place where people want to live. It's a hot place. I didn't choose, Fayetteville, Arkansas for a reason, because we know, you can go there and get a house. But a place like Nashville, there are places in Florida, you can still get a home at a somewhat reasonable price, under $400,000, $350,000 or less.
But you also can't just be working at Starbucks and look, you might not like it, but sometimes the auntie need to tell you the truth, baby. If you want to work at Starbucks part-time and then be able to like still kick it with your homies and go and draw or hang out at the beach, but you only working 20 hours, but yet you still want to have the luxury, clothes and drive an Audi and then still, buy a home. Look, auntie got to let you know, boo-boo, that ain't gonna work. Not here in LA. Not when a 1-bedroom costs $3,000 a month. Like we need to have real conversations. And if real conversations hurt your feelings, we might need to look at the parents who didn't want their kids told hard things.
Yeah. It is definitely It's a hard reality and a hard truth.
Yeah.
I just want to help offer them solutions. You
Mhm.
temper expectations, but it's like, okay, how do you get there? Right.
Yeah.
Number one, 2 incomes are better than one. Right.
Yeah.
And so I know we got a marriage crisis within Gen Z. And
That's not helping the housing crisis.
that's
Like,
not
these are
helping.
interconnected issues.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, yeah, that's the situation they're in, and they're gonna have to. It's like the whole, it's just a mindset thing. Okay, these are my issues. How do I overcome them? How can I put a game plan together? What's going to be my move? You can sit there and whine and complain about it and hope someone fixes your problems for you. Or you can say, okay, how am I going to achieve the things that I want in life? And sometimes that is you got to decide what you're willing to give up, because sometimes it's a trade-off. You can't have everything. And this is one thing I'll say too. There's some affordable housing in some places. You might have to gentrify an area. And what I mean by gentrify, you might have to be the first one to move in. There's some bars on the windows. There's some gunshots. But if enough of y'all buy houses over there and fix them up, it'll start to change.
It'll be a slow work. It'll be, but I don't disagree with you necessarily. But like, if that's my, I don't, let me stop. I grew up in the hood, so I feel like
I'm just saying that's how these neighborhoods change, right? The economics, like, okay, I'm just gonna use Birmingham because that's where I'm from and y'all kind of know it, right? I want to live in Hoover. I want to live in a nice suburban area, but I can't afford it. But I can buy a home in Fairfield, right? And if young people start moving to Fairfield and fixing up houses, all of a sudden it changes the community because all these young people have moved in and become homeowners, right? And so that's what I'm saying. Like, there are ways to do it. They just have to think about it and be creative about doing it, instead of saying, I can't get the house I want in the neighborhood I want in the school system I want, so life isn't fair. It's like, no, you got to go make it.
But that's where I also feel like that gumption, that like, I feel like that's something that my generation has of like, I'm gonna have to go out and do it. Like, we're gonna go get it, instead of like, I just can't sit and wait for somebody to come and rescue me or bring it to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how fair all of that is, to be honest. Like, I've been listening to you guys, but I mean, from what I see on X, there's a lot of hardworking Gen Z people that are really working hard, and they're trying to figure out this riddle. I do think that there are some things like, maybe the wealth of my generation has conditioned them to go on a lot of family vacations. We never did that. Like, to us, a family vacation was getting in the car and driving to Oregon and seeing relatives and staying with relatives. Like, we never took our kids to a Disney World resort vacation. We never took them to any resorts. For us, vacations were we go stay with grandparents, and we go visit museums, and along the way, like, but I know that a lot of families, I see their pictures on social media, they go on a lot of extravagant vacations. And my husband and I lived very frugally and had used cars, and we didn't have car payments, and we made a lot of decisions when we were young about not being in debt, living within our means, living so that if one of us wasn't able to work, we would be okay on one income. Like, there was a lot of intentionality that went into that.
I'm going to give an example. 'Cause I just thought about something. The last time I was in Waco, and I was at Magnolia Land, because when you go to Waco, you got to go to Magnolia Land. I met a girl there, and she worked there, and we just started talking. And she was from California, and she was saying how she had just moved there, not too long ago. And she was saying how much happier she was, right? And she even said that, she had bought a house, something she couldn't do in California. She moved to Waco, Texas, and she was like, I'm so much happier now because California was just so expensive, right? And so that's when I'm talking about trade-offs. You can't have everything you want. I know your family's in California. or New York. I know that's where you grew up. You love the city. You love the being able to be at the beach one day and at the mountains the next. I get it. But the trade-off is you want the American dream. A lot of people that came before you didn't grow up in California. You're right. They left Alabama and drove out to California for opportunities. Right. They left the South and went to Detroit, Michigan for opportunities. These young people got to think that way. They got to be able to, or willing to relocate if that's what they want for opportunities and the opportunity of home ownership. Or they can say, you know what, everything else is more important to me. I'd rather rent my whole life and live here. Okay, then do that.
Yeah,
but life is about trade-offs. You know, you can't get everything.
I think, like, I guess one of the things that's sad to me is when I see so many young people strapped with like $100,000 in debt or more from college. And that's another thing, like, people in my generation, I want to encourage parents, don't strap that on your kids. Like, the promise we made to our kids was we would help them get through college without debt, so that when they graduated, they would have a fresh start. We gave them financial literacy. We helped them learn how to budget. And I think those are some of the things that we did better as parents. There's other things we didn't do as well as parents, but learning and teaching our children how to live within their means, how to attach work with money at all times. You know, these were things that we really worked with our kids on. But please, like, that's something that our generation can control. Like, don't strap your kids with a bunch of debt, and do everything you can to let them have a good start in life.
Yeah.
So, all right, while we're on the subject, let's talk about America first.
Okay.
Because we're talking about the American dream. Let's watch this viral clip, recent viral clip from Matt Walsh, who is a conservative pundit and Roman Catholic. And let's watch this, and then I'm going to have you react, Kevin.
What we want is for someone to unashamedly and single-mindedly advocate for Americans and Americans only. We want someone to say, you know, the only thing I care about is helping Americans. The only people I care about in the world are Americans. And we don't want to just hear that, but we want to see the action taken as well. You know, I've seen some people on social media say, hey, it's America first, but not America only. I disagree. I think it is America only. It's like I said months ago, I consider myself an American chauvinist. America first, America only. I'm an American chauvinist. I don't care about it. This is the only thing I care about. America should be the only thing you care about, especially as a leader of the country. What we want.
So this is a sentiment, another sentiment I'm seeing in Gen Z on X of, no, we don't want MAGA. We don't want Make America Great Again. We want America first. And now that's even evolving even more into America only. And it's kind of this, almost this isolationist perspective.
Even though Matt tried to clarify and say that's not what he's saying, but
yeah. I guess I would wonder, from your perspective, from a geopolitical perspective and your background in the military, like, what are your thoughts about the statement, America first? When is that a good idea? When is it not a good idea? What is America only? Like, what is your case for being involved with other countries' affairs? Like, let's have a conversation.
First of all, America has always been America first. I don't know. The rest of the world will tell you America loves America.
Yes,
right?
they will.
Our leaders have always, I'm going to say always, because you can find something. But our foreign policy is based around our interests and our benefit. You know, this is where people like Matt Walsh and others are getting, I won't say conflated, but it's kind of like, how do you quantify that? Because they would say, if it doesn't benefit American families, then we shouldn't do it. Well, how is that quantified? Like, how do you quantify when you're trying to break it all the way down to the American family level? Right? I'm the president of the United States. I'm making global decisions. I have foreign policy decisions. I have domestic policy decisions. You want me to my foreign policy decisions to be based on, does this benefit the American family? That's from a geopolitical standpoint. I'm like, that's a stupid measuring scale. It just there's no way you can make foreign policy decisions with that scale, with that being the measuring stick.
Are you being paid by Israel? Did you just get $7,000 in your bank account?
Hold on. Let me check. Maybe hopefully, man.
You sound like you're being paid by Israel.
And because that's the thing, like, and once we talked about grievance, right? And politics is grievance. And what we've done is tried to blame our domestic issues on foreign policy and foreign issues, right? When the two have nothing to do with each other. Chris, remember we were talking about the border? And you were making the argument that we're giving all this money away and we can't even protect and close our border. And I was like, it's not a matter of either or, it's a matter of will, right? And once the right president got in there, immediately the border got shut off. It could have been done the whole time. It wasn't about us giving money out. And so when people say, oh, we gave this money, so they see, so two things. Oh, we gave this much money to Israel and this much money to Egypt, and look how much money that is. And then they look at, healthcare here in America, and we're trying to roll back the
Obamacare.
Obamacare. And so they're looking at like, why isn't that money going towards healthcare to take care of Americans? And it's one of those things of foreign policy and domestic policy are two different things. Also,
now, see, I don't think that most people think about it the way that you do. And it's not always clear to me. Like, to me, it just makes sense. If I'm shipping off like billions to Ukraine, wouldn't it be better for me to spend that money here stateside? Like, what do I have to do with people in Ukraine? Why should I care about them? And
think bigger.
Okay, help me.
If we're spending that much money in Ukraine, how much money is Russia spending? Right?
Why do I care about that? Why should I care about some war on another continent? Why can't I worry first about the people here that can't afford health care?
Because we don't live in a bubble. We live in a global economy and on a world stage. And we have enemies. And those enemies are places like Russia and China. And so anytime we get a chance to hurt our enemy, like getting them bogged down in a war, so this is one thing people don't understand. The Soviet Union fell because we got them bogged down in Afghanistan for 10 years. They went bankrupt. You can hurt your enemy. There were foreign countries pouring money into Iraq and Afghanistan to keep us in there fighting and spending money because it was hurting us economically, right? We fight these wars, or we fund them for particular purposes. Because, like I said, if we're spending that much money, think how much money Russia's spending. And our economy is way bigger than theirs, right? And so if we're hurting them by forcing them to fight a long, bogged down war, and now they can't be worried about other stuff. That's why when people were talking about World War III breaking out, we bombed Iran, I'm like, Russia's bogged down. Russia's broke. Russia's economy is not good right now. Right. And so there's a bigger game being played more than your healthcare. Right. There is a global.
This isn't making any sense to me. This is not a good argument, Kevin, because this is like saying, I think Michelle said it here, so it's America's fault that Russia's broke. Like, I don't understand the argument.
Partially, yes. We do things to hurt each other. They try to do things to hurt us. BRICS. We're in an economic.
Why do you still haven't answered my question? Why do I care about what's happening in Ukraine?
Because America's power, strength, and money isn't formed in a vacuum. Okay. We live in the richest, most powerful country in the world for a reason, and that's not always a given. We cannot be this powerful and rich one day. It's not just a given because we're America. We have to maintain it, and we maintain it from others who are trying to challenge that power and that strength and that economic. That's what BRICS is about. It's about challenging our economic strength and getting the rest of the world to get off the dollar, which is going to hurt us tremendously. We have to fight this. people don't understand how the world works. It is not just you
Well, this
and
is your
your.
opportunity to explain it to me, because I'm not. I think
We
the
live
best.
in a global economy. One of the reasons America became the most powerful nation in the world is because after World War II, Europe was decimated, right? And you ended up with these two superpowers in the US and the Soviet Union. And then, of course, capitalism beats socialism every time. And so the Soviet Union collapses economically. And so that left one superpower in the world. From the early 90s up until recently, we kind of say China's challenging us now. But that global, also the dollar became the standard for world currency, which also boosted up America, right? And so that's the world we have lived in. We have lived in an unprecedented time of not just world peace, but great wealth and financial growth and stability living here in America. We are spoiled in America. The rest of the world does not have this level of stability and comfort and riches and wealth. We just don't understand it because we largely don't go anywhere else in the world or understand the rest of the world. But this is not unique to world history. And it's not guaranteed to be here tomorrow if we don't protect it. If we just say, you know what, forget it. We're not giving out any more money. We're not going to play on the world economic game anymore. We're just going to pull back. All our money stays home. We don't have any real allies, because a lot of times we have allies because there's an economic benefit for them to be our ally, right? So we're not going to have any real friends out there. We might come if you call us, if you need us, but we're not going to give Egypt $1.3 million anymore, or $1 billion a year anymore. You know who will? China. China, like, okay, Egypt, here you go.
Okay, so you just finally said at the last sentence there something that's mildly compelling to me, that if America doesn't help these other countries, someone else will step in and do it for us. And I think that is the most clear thing that you've said in all of this. So like Monique has told me about in her travels in Africa, that China has come in and
China's huge in South Africa.
They bought not just South Africa, but even other countries in Africa, like
Zambia, Uganda.
They give them money for roads and infrastructure, and then they harvest their minerals and their other resources. And so if America is not involved in these other countries, China is ready, willing, and able to step in, and or other nations, but China is probably the biggest one. And so the importance of our involvement is that when we have some kind of stake in another country, I think what Trump's strategy is to give us a financial stake in a lot of different countries. He's doing the Saudi Arabia thing and Qatar and mineral harvesting in Ukraine. And I think that what his strategy is if we have a financial stake where we're actually benefiting from these countries and they're paying us for things, we're not just giving them money, that there will be a reciprocity and keep China at bay from just kind of taking over more countries. I think that that's the most compelling thing I've heard you say.
Yeah, but also think about the discussion we just had for 40, 45 minutes on housing. What element of that had anything to do with foreign policy? Nothing. That issue has nothing to do with foreign policy or how much money we give to Israel.
Sure it does.
It doesn't.
Yes, it does.
How?
I mean, at least here in California, we're having big problems with the CCP buying houses in California.
What does that have to do with how much money we give to Israel?
Well, nothing about Israel, but about China. I thought you said, so maybe I misheard you. I thought you were saying nothing to do with the housing problem.
With foreign but that's not a foreign policy issue. That's a domestic policy issue. Do we allow foreign countries to buy U.S. houses and land? That's a domestic policy issue, right? That's not what they're talking about. They're looking at our foreign policy, and then they want foreign policy to be judged based on, does this benefit America? I'm just going to be honest. At the end of the day, it comes down to they don't want us to give money to Israel. I'm just going to keep it real. And Matt needs to be smart enough to know that. He didn't say it, but he can't say something like America only in our current climate and not know the sentiment that is out there about we shouldn't be funding Israel because it doesn't benefit us.
So you think that's a cover story when they say America only? You think that's really
it's the same thing as Crisis King.
It's a cover story for we don't want to send weapons and aid to Israel as an ally.
Yes. So Tucker Carlson has not said this, but just me listening to Tucker, this is what I believe Tucker Carlson and others believe, that we don't want to get any more wars. We've been in these forever wars. We don't want to get any more wars. They believe it is Israel who pulls us into all these wars. Even Ukraine, they would say Zelensky's he's Jewish. That's Israel. That's the Jews pulling us into another war, right? And so their whole thing is we need to break the Jewish Israel influence from America so we can stop being pulled in all these wars on behalf of Israel that benefit Israel and don't benefit us. And they're viewing everything through this lens of the Jews, right? And they are acting as if America does not do things in America's interest. We only do things in Israel's interest. And this is a false narrative.
Do you think that helping Israel is in America's interest?
I do. I mean, I think it's no different than NATO. It's no different than we give South Korea money because we maintain that. We maintain relationships and strategic partnerships throughout the world. And Israel is our biggest strategic partner in the Middle East, in that region of the world. Absolutely, it does.
But what do we get from that? Like, what do we get from sending weapons to Israel or collaborating, our CIA collaborating with Mossad? Like, what is the benefit that I can look at that through an America First lens and say, yes, helping Israel is America First? Like, what is the fruit of that?
The same way sending money to NATO is America First. It protects our interest around the world. That's what I was getting at to the whole like China thing and Russia thing. You think Iran was pouring all that money into Syria and Hamas and for no reason? No, everyone is playing this game against one another. Russia playing the game. China is playing the game. And people basically saying, I don't want America to play the game anymore. And it's like, okay, if we don't play the game anymore, don't expect your quality of life to stay the same.
So you think it would impact the quality of life because the dollar wouldn't be the dominant world currency.
Economic security.
That would have blowback on us and impact our way of life.
Absolutely.
That's
economic security is national security.
Now, I have to tell you, I'm not compelled by this NATO argument. I look at NATO as being a bunch of clowns that we're overpaying for. I really don't understand what that is.
I mean, to a degree, somewhat it is, only because recently we've learned, because of what happened in Ukraine, that Russia isn't the bear we thought it was, right? Russia has nukes. They have fifth generation, equipment and fighters and things like that. But they have shown us in Ukraine that they aren't that great of a military. And so there is a sense of NATO, that the Russia threat isn't as big as we thought it was. I'll put it like that. So the importance of NATO, we can say, is somewhat diminished because Russia isn't a big threat anymore. But China is. And that is why President Trump has pushed NATO to say, you need to be able to handle this Russia threat on your own. And why? Because we're going to pivot all of our resources to the Pacific. We're going back to the Philippines. We're going back to Malaysia. We're going back to our Pacific allies because China is the threat that we need to focus on. And so y'all need to handle this Russia thing. And so we're just pivoting in terms of the global thing. But the reason China is building things in the South China Sea, the reason they're building these islands, the reason they're creating their own aircraft carriers is because it's all economics. And that's called the Belt Road Initiative as well. Everything is about economics. Everything is about money. And China, one thing the United States Navy does, their biggest mission is keeping international trade lanes open, sea lanes. China wants to control the South China Sea, so they control that, right? Iran has always wanted to control the Persian Gulf and control the oil going in and out. Everything is about control and money. And right now, we control the world. We control all of it. No one can mess with us, our military. No one wants to anger us or go on our bad side. We control all of it. That's not guaranteed tomorrow. And that's what people need to realize. But everybody, and that's why I say, I think this is an op. I'm just going to be honest. This is an op because the only people who benefit from this is Russia and China. Right? And this is a complete.
What is this? I don't know what you're talking about. Like the only
this whole America first, America only, isolationist move. This isn't organic. These are paid social media influencers. And I guarantee you look back who's paying them. It's going to be Qatar. It's going to be Russia. It's going to be all of these.
Now we're in bed with Qatar. Trump's over there like, they got $1 trillion. They're going to invest in us. Like, I don't understand what we're doing. Like, you're telling me Qatar is an op. They're
Qatar plays both
all
sides.
of the anti-Jew stuff, but yet Trump's in bed with Qatar now.
Qatar plays both sides. We have a base in Qatar.
They have a base here in Utah or something.
No, it's a training. They don't have their own base. There was bad wording. But no, we have our major Middle Eastern base is in Qatar.
So are they our enemy or are they our friend? I'm confused.
Yes. So I said they do some nefarious things. So on one hand, they act like they're our friend. Like I said, they play both sides, but they fund a lot of terrorist stuff. They fund Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera is a Qatar news agency.
Right.
Al Jazeera is not pro-America, right? And it's funded by the Qataris. What's the other thing? As I mentioned, Al Jazeera. Oh yeah, a lot of charities. These charities out of Qatar fund a lot of terrorist activities. Where were the Hamas leadership living? In Qatar.
In Qatar.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I don't understand what we're doing with Qatar. It feels like sides. Yeah, well, obviously, like they're our friend and our enemy at the same time. Like, okay, what do you think about the Saudi king being at the White House earlier this week? Like, do we want to be friends with the Saudis now? Because once upon a time, it seemed like they were sort of responsible for 9/11, possibly, but now we're like having them in the White House. I'm confused. I don't know
the Saudis have always been an ally of ours, and in terms of Arab countries, Saudi Arabia has been our biggest ally.
Okay, so you're okay with you cut, even though it's a Muslim country, you feel like that's a legitimate ally for us.
They've always been pro US. And they've made a lot of changes over the years. Like women can drive now. They've made some reforms. They got rid of their religious police. They used to go around and police everybody and take people to jail. Saudi Arabia's made some change. I mean, it's still a Muslim country. Don't get it twisted. But they've made some reforms. But they've always been pro-US. So the first Persian Gulf War, right? We got into that war. It's not the reason we got into it, but Saudi Arabia is who said, "Hey, come out and help us," because they were worried about Saddam coming down and attacking them next, which is also the reason why Osama bin Laden hated us and Al Qaeda was formed and started attacking us, because we were in Saudi Arabia, the home of Mecca, the Holy Land, right? These infidels, and so it's all complicated. But we've had a relationship with Saudi Arabia going back, forever. They've always been pro-US. Especially since '79, because they're anti-Shia, they're anti-Iran, and so Iran and Saudi Arabia are enemies. And so we're friends with Saudi Arabia. We're not friends with Iran. Russia is friends with Iran, and so you see these teams being built. You see these teams.
How you think I feel?
I'm just saying, like, there are different sides to take in this, and if we abandon that, and all the people who are quote unquote on our side, what team do they go to?
Mm-hmm. So your concern is they're going to go to China, Iran, and Russia.
They're going to go to where the influence and the money is.
Mm-hmm. So for you see America first as, we should be involved to some extent in other countries, Where do you see it as being overreached? Like, and we got no business doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So this is why I sympathize with and I agree with the movement of globalism isn't always worked best for America. That's one of the things Trump talked about a lot, right? The trade deals we signed, right? Those trade deals benefited other countries way more than it benefited American workers. That type of stuff. I'm like, okay, yeah, we're talking about that. Yeah, and so there's a lot of globalism in general, I think, is and having more of a nationalism mindset. I'm pro that. I don't want the World Health Organization telling us what we can do. I don't want the UN.
You're not a WEF guy.
No, that's what a lot of people are really fighting back against. They're saying, let's abandon this world economic stuff. Let's get out of this globalism. Let's return back to nationalism. The problem is you just can't put the toothpaste back in the tube completely, right? I love the fact that Trump got out of the Paris Accords climate change nonsense, right? I love the fact that he's saying, no, we're going to push manufacturing back to the U.S. Those are things that, that's MAGA. That's what he's already doing. But this idea of like this total isolationist push, me to pull out, that is, I believe that's 100% an op. That is not in America's best interest. That is China and Russia's
I don't know,
best
Matt.
interest.
I can't imagine Matt Walsh is getting paid by Qatar. I mean,
I'm not saying he's getting paid, but Matt Walsh didn't just come up with that. I think Matt's having a hard time since Charlie got killed. I'm just gonna be honest. I think he has turned very cold and hard in a lot of areas since Charlie got killed. And even in that video, he brought up the left just wants to kill us. And we're worried about, he keeps going back to the left wants us dead. And I get it. He's as big as Charlie in terms of a name and a national figure. I know his family's in danger. I know he feels it, right? And he keeps harping on the left wants us dead. Even in this video, which had nothing to do about the left, it was all about, America first and America only. He still referenced it. I think Matt's having a hard time.
Well, it's a good conversation. I'm glad for it. Hopefully people found it interesting, all my little questions to Kevin. And
it's good. It's good.
I'm glad I could be here for it. Yeah.
We can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. We can't go back to pre-World War I or World War II America where we're isolationists, we're not getting in the world affairs. That day is over, And that's another thing too, this whole post-World War II consensus, right? They want to go back. They believe we've made a mistake since World War II with this global liberal order. They want to undo it, and they're trying to go back to pre-World War II America. And you just can't do that.
I just still have concerns about the fact that I don't feel like, that I think our country still has big problems, and it's hard for me when I hear like, oh, we're sending $100 billion to Ukraine.
But I feel like it's the same conversation on either side of the aisle. It just depends on what type of involvement we're talking about. So if I look to the right and, or look at, we're going to fund the Ukraine or, we're going to fund Israel, especially. Well, okay, so let's say we have a different president who doesn't want to fund Israel. Well, where is the money going that they want to fund? They're going to say
it's not going to go to you.
Well, no, it's not going to go to me, but I mean,
I'm just saying, us.
Look at how much money America spends or has spent under other presidents funding the UN. Well, what is the UN doing in other countries promoting abortion and LGBTQ plus and all of this stuff in trade for like medical supplies and food? Like to me, it's just like, what side of the aisle are you playing on? I don't think because we don't fund Israel, it's going to stop America from being in other people's business.
It's not. Can I say something else too? This whole thing is really just a socialist mindset. Because what we're really saying is we want the government to do more for us. That's the argument. We want the government to do less for other people and do more for us. Stop giving money to them. Let's do universal health care, right? They want more government socialist programs. They want the government to take care of us more, not just to solve our problems, because that's not always a monetary thing. They want the government to do more.
Oh, I
And
don't
that, to
agree
me,
with
that's the
you.
biggest
No,
problem.
I don't think that's what they're saying. I think what people are saying that they're sick of is like, we want the government to enforce the law. We want the government to get
That's
rid of
MAGA.
the Antifa. We want the government to regulate immigration better. We want the government to preserve our culture and our country and not allow Sharia law or not allow Islamic communities to take over Texas. Like they feel like there's big problems at home. Why are we sending money to these other countries?
Krista, I would go back to the whole border situation. None of those issues have to do with how much money we give overseas. It just don't. We can stop Islamic communities from setting up in Texas. It doesn't take anything from us giving money to Egypt. Like, the things aren't related. They're using grievance to push an agenda, and that agenda benefits China and Russia. But they're using domestic grievances to get American people to feel a certain way. So we go, yeah. And the only people it benefits is Russia and China. So that's it. That's the game.
If we weren't there would be a vacuum and other countries would come in with their money and influence. That's kind of the bottom line of your argument.
Yeah.
Well, and that even if we were to step away from that global stage, we would probably still have the same issues here at home because these issues aren't necessarily dependent upon each other.
Okay.
No, they're not. They're not. Just like the border, just like closing the border had nothing to do with giving money overseas.
You were right about that. I was wrong when I texted you last year or something with that question, and you're like, our border problem has nothing to do with Ukraine. It's just a problem of the will. And on day one of minutes after Trump was sworn in, we saw, oh yeah, you were right, Kevin. It was a problem of the will.
Yeah.
So you were right.
It's just domestic problems and foreign policy usually aren't even related. Now they could be when we talk about like trade deals and things like that, but that's MAGA. MAGA is already addressing trade deals and tariffs and immigration. They are just, like I said, they're taking it to a whole nother level. Because at the end of the day, it comes back to funding Israel and making America more white. And that's a whole nother conversation.
It makes me uncomfortable to think about my tax money going to other countries. I'm not going to lie. Like it's uncomfortable, but it's also uncomfortable for me that like all of the fraud that happens in SNAP and other places. So it's just discouraging. It
is. It is.
But, Lori, I'm not going to address your question, but you need to educate yourself about what's happening. So I'll just say that. All right.
Well, I hope this conversation has been enlightening. Next week, when I produce the show, we'll be talking about how to choose your favorite crayon color. Yeah. Just saying.
This is what happens.
There are things that I care about, and then there are things that I care about. No, I care about this. I think it's an important topic. It's very weighty. It's very heavy. And it's like a Rubik's Cube, like you would say, Rubik's Cube of 45 sides. Like, what about this? What about the UN? What about, Israel? What about Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the border? How does the border fit in? What about SNAP benefits? What about the home buying? And, there's a lot of pieces, and you really have to track in all of the intricate places in order to put it all together. So I think the conversation
think about it. That's everything you just said. That's what the president is dealing with on a daily basis. He's dealing with all kinds of foreign problems, and he's dealing with domestic issues and how to solve it, and having to argue with Democrats. And it's a complicated job. It's not as we don't have a king, no matter what some people might think. There isn't a king that can just swipe the pen and make things happen.
Yeah.
But I will say too, like for a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here on our home soil, that is local stuff. And it does come down not to who our president is, but how we are voting in our local elections. And so if we want to see things different, we need to vote in our municipal elections. We need to change what we can change in our location, one place at a time, rather than, all of the hoopla over the president and this and that. Start making changes locally.
All right, friends. Hope you enjoyed this. Share it out. Like, comment, share, all of that stuff.
Hit the like button and help us out.
We also want to let you know Giving Tuesday is coming. That'll be the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. And we got our campaign. We're getting ready to launch. So please remember us in your prayers and be thinking about how you might partner with us to help us continue this important ministry as we offer scintillating analysis like you've heard today. So thank you so much for all you do for us and praying for us. And we hope you'll check out the Giving Tuesday campaign. Make sure you are subscribed to our weekly digital newsletter, because that's the best way, most reliable way to stay in touch with us. Do not count on social media to stay connected with us, because it shadow bans massive amounts of our content. So if you really want to know what's happening, stay connected to us through the digital news.